Yo, what's going on, guys? Alright, so today in Photoshop, what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at how to create a custom brush. This is really useful, particularly when you're creating artwork, concept artwork, or if you're doing like abstract illustrations. So I'm going to show you the basic way of creating a custom brush. And we're also going to then go to an image, and we're going to pull it part of the texture and create a custom brush from that. And I'll also show you guys how to adjust the presets. So if we just go up to our standard brush tool, this is just to kind of create just so you see the process of it, of creating a brush. So any little squiggle, so we've done that. Well, actually, let's put that on a layer by itself. So we're going to create a layer. Yep, so any little squiggle, we then make that selection. We use our magic wand tool, made that selection. And with that selected, we're going to go to edit and define brush preset, brush name, so we can then change the brush name to squiggle brush. We're gonna hit OK. Alright, so now we've literally got that set as a brush. So let's select and deselect, and then now you'll see that it is set as a brush. Yeah, and you can create really interesting patterns from that. Yeah, and textures just from what we've created there. So it would function as a normal brush, so we can then change the size of it. That's a bit too small, can't see the difference. There we go. Yeah, and we can also go to, if we go to our brush settings or hit F5 on the keyboard, and we can actually change the dynamics of the shape. So we can change the default size of it. We can change the amount of spacing in between it when placed down. Adjusting the shape dynamics, so the size jitter, so if it goes from smaller to large, the scattering, if you want it to scatter. But I'm going to show you some interesting stuff with just using the standard brush following that. So that's how we define a brush. So let's go to this, let's bring in a texture. So this is just a texture that I grabbed off of the internet. We could use the same process, so let's rasterize that layer just so we can work with it. Right, so for example, we've got this selection here. You may want to adjust the contrast of your image just to make it pop a little more, so it's easier to define the area. We could just fill that with black. Let's throw that onto a separate layer. Get rid of that layer underneath it. Edit, define brush preset, sample brush, hit OK. Again, we could have renamed that if we so chose. Brush shape, change the size. Again, you can adjust the spacing so it's completely next to each other, it's really separate. Select, deselect, and again we've got a new interesting brush that will allow you to create some really interesting textures. Yeah, helps with your illustrating. Now a really useful thing to create, so for example, if we've got our standard round brush, we can create a nice particle effect. Let's just change that to, it's fine. So if we go, by adjusting our brush presets, we can create a really nice particle effect that we can use in our illustrations by adjusting a few things on the presets of the brush. So if we adjust the spacing right the way to the top, if we adjust the shape dynamics, so we're going to go to size jitter, and we're going to change that to 100%, so it's going to jitter between minimum diameter 0%, so that's fine, that's like the smallest one. We're going to bring that up slightly. Roundness jitter is fine. Yeah, because it's a round brush, so we don't need to change the roundness. Scattering, we're going to adjust the scattering to 100%. If you click both axes, then it will go on both your X and your Y axes. You can adjust the count, so how many you get. So if you wanted it really a really kind of packed amount of particles, count jitter also, same kind of thing. And that is all of the adjustments that we will be making there. So if we then start painting, then you'll see that we get this really nice particle effect. If we were to invert it, then you can see how that could work in black and white. Alright, so that's just a really nice way if you wanted to create you could use that to create a galaxy background, or if you've got like dust, you wanted it to appear like still a photograph has got dust on the lens, then you can use that also. But yeah, some good little tips of adjusting brushes and creating brush presets for your illustrations.